Hello, everyone. After being introduced to the core ToC process of focusing, it is time to discuss the second core theory of constraints process, the process of ongoing improvement. This process of ongoing improvement is a very critical process as it is enabling companies or systems to execute the right change, the change that will deliver the results which are expected or even better. In the background, we do believe that every system constantly strives to realize more goal units. If we are a for-profit organization, we would like to get more profit. If we are a defense system, we would like to get more defense. If we are a health system, more health. If we are an education system, more education, etc. The focusing process, which we have discussed in the previous session, provides leadership with a compass that is required to make sure that they focus their attention in the right place. However, knowing where to focus doesn't mean we know what to do, and oftentimes in order to get more, a change is necessary. Actually, not oftentimes, always a change is necessary. Sometimes this change is clear, obvious, we know what to do and we can do it and we will do it. Mostly, it is not the case. The process of ongoing improvement is enabling us to design and implement such a change. What makes the process of ongoing improvement of the theory of constraints different than any other change process is the fundamental belief that the results system generate, whether positive or negative, if they are consistent and repeating themselves, they are a result of some inherent cause and effect dependency. And this is very critical and creates a very significant differentiation and opportunity. Why is that? First of all, because it enables us to simplify the understanding of complex systems. We all operate in complex systems. So the key difference between theory of constraints and any other system is how we simplify the understanding of the complexity. Commonly, what we do is we take a system which is complex and we break it down to subsystems which are less complex, and we are trying to improve the system as a whole by handling each one of the simplified components. The negative effect of this choice is that it assumes that improvements that are realized in any one of the subcomponents are improvements for the system as a whole. Anyone who has done it knows that this assumption is wrong. Theory of constraints understands the system differently. It says that all components of the systems are intertwined and interconnected with cause and effect. And the simplification of the understanding is to building a map of these causalities. These causalities are very interesting that once you write them down, you will notice that they are converging, meaning that there are always less causes than effects. This is good news because it means that we have to fix only a few things in order to get many problems corrected or fixed. The cause and effect enables us to validate our assumptions, not to work based on them just because we assume them, but to be certain or confident that our assumptions are valid. It provides the infrastructure to effectively communicate with others. It enables the creation of sound predictions. What will happen if we will do something? It enables the identification of errors while executing, because even the best analysis and design, when executed and implemented, may find that some of the assumptions, even though we validated them in the analysis phase, turn out to be erroneous in reality. But the fact that we use cause and effect enables quick identification, quick correction. And I think that one of the key things that cause and effect thinking brings us is the realization that we cannot blame others. If our system is experiencing any difficulties, it's not because of the situation, it's not because of the external circumstances, it's not because of competition, it's not because of suppliers, it's primarily because of us. All the other valid occasions or events that are occurring are just adding fuel to an already burning fire. So how is the process of ongoing improvement looks like? Basically, like any other, it starts with three key questions. If we want to improve, we need to change. If we want to change, we need to know what to change. Knowing what to change will enable us to go to the second part of this process, which is what are we going to do instead? If we need to change one thing, what should we put instead? And the critical question is, as we are dealing with human-based systems, is how to cause the change, meaning how we get everyone that is required to participate and to commit themselves to the change. And because we are in a process of ongoing improvement, one successful change is ending a cycle towards the beginning of the next one. These three questions, any change process is asking. As I said earlier, theory of constraints is different in how it approaches the response to these three questions. Today's session will focus on the first question, what to change. So when we start checking what to change in the system, we start by, first of all, understanding what are the boundaries of the system. Because otherwise we might try to solve a problem in an area which is either too small or too big and beyond our ability to influence, or unnecessarily limiting the effects we can realize. So we need to understand where we are focusing at. The second natural step is to answer the question, what are the existing negative effects in reality that prevents the analyzed system from generating more of its goal units, key performance measures? We have a terminology in theory of constraints, we call them undesirable effects, or UDEs. A very critical part of this step is to ensure that we define undesirable effects correctly. We do not start our analysis with mapping entities which are wrong, poorly verbalized, or inappropriate to the analysis we are trying to perform. So what are the criteria for a good undesirable effect? One, it must exist in reality. So when you will present it to someone else, nobody will argue that it never happens, or it is very rare occasion, or it is untrue. So the second one is the frequency. We don't want to deal with an event that happened, but it happens once in a blue moon. For example, if a truck taking your product from your warehouse to a customer got into an accident and the delivery was delayed, this is undesirable effect. However, if it happened once in every 5 years, it's not something you want to deal with. But if frequently we are delivering late to customers, this is something we would like to look at and understand. The third criterion is that they negatively affect the key performance measure. So because of their existence, we can't generate more goal units. They are neutral. They do not blame anyone. You can say something like suppliers are always late, and that means that you put the blame on the supplier. If the supplier is the blame, the supplier is also the place where the problem should be solved, which means it's out of your control, and what can we do? But if you take and say, oftentimes raw materials are not available when they are needed, then it opens the possibility that maybe not suppliers are to blame. They do not hide the solution. Too often I see people defining a problem as a lack of a solution, something like our IT system is outdated. This is not a problem. This is not an undesirable effect. This is a solution that somebody wants. Someone wants a new IT system. and defines the problem as the lack of the new IT system. This is not a problem, uh, and this is not the right way to do it. So we cannot define an undesirable effect as a lack of a solution. And they should be representing as many as possible parts of the system, so the solution we will get eventually will not be skewed or limited to a very small part of the overall system we are trying to improve, and the effect on the key performance measure will be too small. These are the key criteria you would like to make sure that you are covering when you are defining the undesirable effect of the system you are analyzing. We will demonstrate this in the next sessions of this program, when we will review different parts of the system. So after we map or define the undesirable effects, we map them. We map them by their causality relationships. Instead of the common practice which map undesirable effects and then tries to rank them by any type of ranking system, and then choose the top ranking undesirable effects as where we are going to focus our attention. Theory of constraints assumes that they are all of them are interconnected with some cause and effect, and that you cannot isolate one or two or three of them and get real improvements in the system by trying to solve the problem. So we map their interdependencies and we create this undesirable effect tree that shows how they are interconnected from cause and effect. So any undesirable effect at the bottom of an arrow is a cause for an undesirable effect in the tip of the arrow. This map is not a full cause and effect map, but it gives the structure that will eventually be created. Now, when we have this and we know that we have been able to connect all the undesirable effects, we are going to choose 3 different undesirable effects and try to understand them in the life of the decision makers that are complaining about these undesirable effects. Our basic assumption is that people do not have the innate ability or will, better said, to live in a situation where an undesirable effect is existing. Let's remember, an undesirable effect is negative. It negatively affects my ability to deliver more goal units. If I can do something about it, I will most probably do. If I do nothing about it, it means that something is blocking me from taking an action. As a result, we assume that if an undesirable effect exists, it is frequent and it is negative, the decision maker facing the situation is actually facing a dilemma. And the dilemma is then being analyzed through this tool, which we call the dilemma cloud. And basically, it answers 5 key questions. The first one is, why are we complaining about this undesirable effect? What me, the decision maker, what need do I have that as long as this undesirable effect exists, this need is being jeopardized? So if oftentimes raw materials are not available, maybe I'm concerned about the fact that production schedule cannot be met. So the need at risk would be keep your production schedule as planned. Then you ask yourself, okay, what actions I feel the decision maker forced to take in the occasion that material is not available in order to have my production schedule met. And I might feel the pressure to expedite a shipment from a supplier. So the third question will say, okay, if you can expedite from a supplier, why won't you do that? What other need is at risk when you are expediting an order from a supplier? Commonly, you might say that this will increase cost. I will have to pay excess money, either for the shipments or for the supplier or for both, in order to get the order faster. So the need at risk, which is negatively affected by me taking the action of expediting, is control the cost. And the fourth question will say, okay, so if you want to control the cost, what action would you like to take? What action you prefer to take, and the action would be allow the late delivery, basically. Don't do anything that will jeopardize the cost. And lastly, we'll say, what is the uh, objective you will reach if you will both meet the production schedule and control the cost? And you might say something like, I will be performing my job in the best possible way. So this is a dilemma I will be facing the decision maker in a specific situation. Like that, we can analyze any undesirable effect. And any one undesirable effect can have more than one dilemma that the decision maker is facing. But at this stage, we are trying to define three dilemmas for three different undesirable effects from as remote and different parts of the systems as possible. Having done that, we go to the next phase, which we are trying to combine these three undesirable effects, consolidate them into a higher level definition of what we call a core cloud or a core dilemma cloud. This is the generic dilemma that represents all the dilemmas for all undesirable effects any decision maker in the system is facing when they are experiencing the undesirable effect. Once we have this verbalization ready, we have realized or defined a candidate to what might be the core dilemma for all undesirable effects. As we have a candidate, we now go and check whether we are correct or not. This we do using a tool called Current Reality 3. As you can see in the bottom, we have the same core dilemma. It's a bit 90% turned. And now we are starting to add causalities. We add assumptions that explain the cause and effect between the different entities. And we're trying to link the core generic dilemma to the previously prepared undesirable effect 3. If we are able to do that, then we have proven that logically the core dilemma is explaining the whole structure, the whole cause and effect to all undesirable effects of the system. If there is one or two or three undesirable effects which we could not connect, we will write their own dilemma cloud and try to consolidate the individual verbalization into the generic one and repeat the system until we are able to connect all undesirable effects to one core generic dilemma. Once we are able to do that, we have validated that the core generic dilemma is the cause for all the undesirable effects, which indicates that if we can solve this core dilemma, we can actually reverse the negativity of the undesirable effects and make them positive, as you will see in the constructing the solution. We will reverse the undesirable effects to be desirable effects. What glues the core dilemma to entities one to the other are assumptions. These assumptions are critical because at least one of them is either erroneous to start with, or we can do something to invalidate it. Once we identify this erroneous assumption that can be in any one of the dependencies, causalities in the generic cloud, in the generic dilemma, we will have received the answer of what to change. This is what we want to change. The benefits of the system is that very different than the common practices that start in the same way, map the undesirable effects. But the next common step is to try to prioritize them, sort them in any way, and choose a few of them. The theory of constraints is searching for the core problem for all of the symptoms, for all of the undesirable effects. And as a result, by that, we will identify one core problem that if we solve this one core problem, we will be solving in one go all of the undesirable effects. So with one change, we will get a lot of benefit. As mentioned, we will demonstrate it in the following session, sorry. And I invite you to keep on watching. Thank you for your attention and goodbye.